Hi, we're going to talk about productivity in the short and in the long run. Now, the most important economic fact of the past 200 years has been the incredible increase in labor productivity. If you go back to the time of the American Revolution, American farmers, who were just about the most affluent and productive people on earth, were incredibly poor by modern standards. On average, they had few changes of clothing. They were mostly uncomfortable, poorly fitting woolens. They often went barefoot for lack of shoes. They ate a monotonous diet, heavy in starch and rough meat, particularly lacking in fruits, vegetables in winter. They lived in drafty, cold houses, no privacy, life was short, children died before the age of 1, mothers died in childbirth, they lacked what we consider basic necessities, clean running water, refrigeration, rubber rain gear, antibiotics to deal with common infections, and needless to say, they didn't have Netflix. Productivity per hour has risen about 100-fold since then, so that we have a standard of living beyond the dreams of our ancestors. Increases in productivity have come from some combination of greater complementary inputs, such as energy from fossil fuels, greater investments in capital goods, better technology, more regular work regimen, economies of scale with production in larger facilities with a greater division of labor, as well as access to better technology and machinery. The point for us is how all of these challenge the simple marginal productivity theory that underlies upward sloping supply curves. Now remember, supply curves slope up because you need more and more inputs, because as you add inputs, they each become less productive. Add more labor and your workers start running out of things with which to work with. But what has happened over time is, as we've added more and more inputs, more labor, more capital goods, and this is as anticipated by Adam Smith, workers have become more productive because they're involved in larger facilities with greater division of labor. And this is not only within factories, but also society as a whole. We have what economists call economies of agglomeration, where being in a larger place, larger cities, larger countries, international division of labor, people are more productive. New Yorkers and people in Chicago and Los Angeles are more productive than people in small towns because of the greater division of labor that goes on in these larger cities. And Americans are more productive these days because of their involvement in the international division of labor, so where we focus on what we're good at, exchange it for things we're not so good at, and we have a larger facility for doing things, greater division of labor. Go to Hollywood, you see this, and we're more productive. This is all as anticipated by Adam Smith, but think about what this does to the simple marginal productivity. Downward sloping marginal productivity leads to an upward sloping marginal cost curve. If we become more productive as we add inputs, as those inputs become more productive, that's saying that the marginal productivity is upward sloping. And if the marginal productivity of labor is upward sloping because we add workers to facilities, they get more division of labor, they discover new technologies, they get a better work regimen, all the stuff Adam Smith talked about. If Adam Smith is right, then marginal productivity theory is wrong. And if marginal productivity theory is wrong, then you don't have upward sloping marginal cost curves. And if you don't have upward sloping marginal cost curves, you don't have an upward sloping supply curve. And if you don't have an upward sloping supply curve, then you don't have a supply and demand explanation of pricing. I mean, it's conceivable that a downward sloping demand curve might intersect a downward sloping supply curve, but that is not the way people have been presenting it. Because think what happens to prices in that situation when you increase demand. When demand increases, you're shifting that demand curve out and you move down your marginal cost, down your supply curve. So prices fall with greater output and greater demand. And if there's a drop in demand, you move the demand curve in and prices go up. That is not the way people have talked about supply and demand. So economists really need to make a decision here. Do we believe in Adam Smith and the experience of 200 years, which is upward sloping marginal productivity? Or do we believe in the theory of downward sloping marginal productivity, a theory developed by thinking about people like Robinson Crusoe living by themselves in some abstract universe? Personally, I go with Adam Smith, but this is for everybody to make their own choices. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Bye-bye.